Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, your personal weatherman, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype here on your October 22nd, 2024. Now, before we get rolling, if you have not made a donation yet to help those impacted by the hurricanes, obviously with Helene and with Milton there in Florida, here's a QC code if you want to scan that right there, and please consider making a donation to the American Red Cross. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we're tracking here for today. As a lot of the country will be seeing above normal temperatures here for the rest of this week. We're also going to be talking a little bit of a pattern shift. Could set off around maybe some severe weather finally kicking in across parts of the country as we head into next week. And it looks like we'll be looking at the tropics as well. Are we finally seeing things getting quiet out there? We'll take a quick look out there as well. Now, I was on vacation last week, so I didn't get the chance to thank all the new subscribers here to the channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, with that 50% who haven't done it, please consider it. Just hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you learn on future content. And as always, if you like what you see, please give a thumbs up, as it does help with the YouTube algorithm. All right, let's go and take a look at our latest satellite imagery here for this morning. East Coast looking pretty quiet here. Got a little disturbance here across Iowa, setting off some rain here, moving in through Iowa and portions of Illinois. Also some rain up here into areas of North Dakota. You see the flow here coming out off the Pacific here, stretching some moisture here across the Intermountain regions, stretching back over toward Oregon. But southern tier of the United States looking pretty quiet here. Although, you know, they got a lot of that heavy rain. That's part of that disturbance here that dumped that heavy rain in Roswell that caused some issues out there just a day or so ago. Got like 6 inches of rain in like 24 hours. Really crazy weather there. All right, let's go look at your surface map again. Pretty quiet here across the southeast. Look at these temperatures here in the 40s. Actually cooler in the southeast than areas there in the mid-Atlantic and into the northeast, but comfortable 47 there in Atlanta right now. There's that rain up there in the high plains, and we'll take a look at some of this rain here in just a second. Now, with the bulk of the country seeing these dry conditions, the drought conditions have been increasing. A lot of D2 and D3s out here. I think with a bit of a pattern shift coming, maybe we start chipping away at some of this. You know, some areas here in the southeast have gone the entire month of October without a single drop of rain. Might be challenging some records there going the next week. But with that chance of rain coming toward the end of the month, maybe we kind of add some rain to the rain buckets there. Looking nationally, the watches and warnings, very quiet here from coast to coast. Just a couple of winter weather advisories out here in Colorado, but otherwise looking pretty quiet for most of the nation here on your Tuesday. Let's look at your local radar here. We're going into areas here across Iowa. Seeing the rain here for this morning. A few rumbles of thunder here coming up from the south. This will be stretching into areas here into Iowa. And this will be pushing into Wisconsin a little bit later here for this afternoon. Otherwise, looking pretty quiet here for most of the nation here. Now, our weather city of the day, we're going to Carmel, Indiana. A beautiful shot here. Got a little bit of some clouds around here. Looks like we're going to see partly cloudy skies in Carmel, but temperatures definitely running above normal. We'll see an afternoon high of 79 degrees. And if you'd like to consider your city as the weather city of the day, and you know of a good webcam, perhaps on YouTube or some other source, just take that link and post it down below, and I'll consider it for a future broadcast. Let's go ahead and take a look at our thunderstorm risk here over the next several days and see what's going on with the latest from the Storms Prediction Center here as we're looking at your day one outlook. Again, we're just looking at a couple areas that we'll be watching for maybe a few little chances of some weather around. Nothing severe or organized. We've got like a little zone here across portions of Minnesota. There's that little pocket we're kind of watching here for this morning, and a little pocket down here as well down toward Texas. But otherwise, looking pretty quiet there. Let's go ahead and take a look at your day two outlook. We'll go kiss over to day two. Again, seeing that frontal system, that's going to be kind of moving into areas there into the northeast. That'll be bringing in a little bit of thunderstorms there across that region, a little pocket down here across the south as well, across Texas and into Oklahoma and Arkansas as we look at your day two. And as far as your day three is concerned, let's look at day three. Again, just a little pocket there in the middle of the country there for portions of going into Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, a little pocket right through there. Otherwise, looking pretty quiet. No active severe weather expected here over the next 3 days. Just a general thunderstorm threat. Again, I think that might change as we go into next week, the way things look. And I'll show you that a little more detail here on the models in just a second. Again, the 3 to 7 day hazards outlook looking quiet. Again, beyond the 7 day, that's when we'll be looking there kind of in the middle of the country to see if that will change, as we're going to be seeing a pretty potent storm system come out of the Rockies. And again, we'll be looking at this zone in here potentially for some active severe weather going in toward next week. So again, we'll show you that in the model data here in just a second. All right, let's talk about what's going on out in the tropics. Like we do have Oscar out there. It really inundated the area there of Cuba, especially the eastern tip there, where it got torrential rains. It just kind of stalled there for a few days, but it's starting to get moving now. And this one's going to get absorbed by another low pressure system as it kind of takes off there across the Atlantic. And nothing else out there showing right there. Looking pretty quiet here over the next 7 days. This is the Hurricane Center 7-day outlook right now. Here's the current track on Oscar as it starts to move away from the Bahamas. We do have those tropical storm warnings out there right now as it's moving to the north-northeast at about 12 miles per hour. Yesterday it was only moving about 2, so it's starting to get moving right now. A lot of the thunderstorms are disrupted there. We're definitely not seeing the center of circulation very well out there right now. It's sitting somewhere over in here as the thunderstorms are being displaced right now because of the wind shear it's fighting. So not expecting the system to develop in any form or fashion as it begins to slowly pull away from the Bahamas, and should see weather there improve generally, especially if anybody's got any vacations coming up. Looks like things will be getting better there here in the next few days. Water temperature, you're noticing it's starting to cool off a bit, starting to see that change a little bit across the Gulf of Mexico and up there, but still plenty warm out there in the Caribbean. You know, temperatures sitting around 30 degrees Celsius. That's 87-degree temperature, so still some bath water out there, but definitely seeing the Gulf of Mexico finally starting to cool down. As we look at the latest here on the ECENS Ensemble model, again, you're seeing that system there with Oscar pulling away, but then we're going to kind of watch this area down here. It was showing a little bit more potency out here yesterday, but it's kind of backed off a little bit right now. But that'll be the next zone. We'll be kind of watching to see if we get our next named system or not as we go in toward beyond, say, 7 to 10 days out. So next 7 days looking pretty quiet, but finally seeing the tropical Atlantic starting to settle down here just a little bit, as we only got about 39 more days and the hurricane season is over for 2024. And all I can say is goodbye and good riddance. All right, let's talk about those model data. We're going to look at the model data here. We're looking at the latest here on the European. Let me back this up once again. I wanted to show you again, showing this kind of moving on off here. This is Oscar pulling away, and it'll kind of absorb and become extra tropical as it's kind of pulling away there. But notice a lot of this yellow in here. But we're talking about you're basically looking at, let me get my pen up here, didn't turn my pen up here real quick. You can see high pressure kind of getting in there. And what that means is that we're going to see higher pressure in this zone. What that means, we're not going to have to worry about anything as far as any active weather. You see all that yellow right in there. So looking pretty quiet for right now over the next few days. Now let me go and take this all the way out to the end of the 10-day here, as we're looking pretty quiet again, continuing right through into early next week. And yesterday's model was showing something down here, trying to develop down here, but not seeing it right now. It's looking pretty quiet for the moment. It does track something here on the end of the model coming in on the Atlantic. There it is right there. You see that kind of coming in as we head toward Halloween evening here. You got a little area right there in the Atlantic, but otherwise looking pretty quiet for the most part. This is the European overnight model here, looking pretty quiet there. Now, let's talk about the jet stream across the country, as we're going to see things begin to change here a bit. Again, that's that river of air that kind of drives things across the nation. We got a couple of weaker systems that are going to kind of track across the country here as we go through the coming days. You see this little dip right in here, bringing in stuff. Most of the southern tier looking pretty quiet here for the most part for this week, but we're going to see a real kink in that jet stream as we go toward next week. So looking pretty quiet. It's this piece of energy here coming off the Pacific that we're going to be watching very closely. It's this one right back here, as this is going to dive down here across the Intermountain region as we head toward next week. So again, watch what happens here as we put this into motion. We'll see this thing dip. You see the big dip in the jet stream here taking place, really rolling in like a bowling ball here going into next week. So what this means is this piece of energy, as it begins to eject here, you get that nice little dip in the jet stream. We'll be watching for some active weather out here in the plains as this comes through. As we go into November, sometimes we refer to as the secondary severe weather season. And with that kind of active jet and the big warm-up of temperatures out ahead of it, we're going to get the nice classic setup where the clash of the air masses there. And this is going to rotate in out of the plains and into the areas around the Great Lakes as we go toward Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So this lifts on out, and things beginning to get a little more progressive for that jet stream, a little more amplification of the jet stream. And as it begins to shift further south as we go into the month of November, again, we'll be watching for those severe weather opportunities. But right now, looks like toward the middle of next week, we'll need to be very watchful of the potential for some active severe weather and maybe even a few isolated tornadoes going into next week. Let's go ahead and look at the precipitation mode on this. Going a little bit closer, we'll look at the continental United States. We've got a couple, again, weak systems that we're watching here. As you see here, we've got a little piece of energy here kind of riding right along the Canadian border there, setting off some rain showers in there. It's the same system as dropping the rain into the areas of the Dakotas here for today. But generally looking pretty quiet. We'll see that big low here off the eastern seaboard. Again, this is what's left of basically Oscar here becoming extratropical, but it'll stay off the eastern seaboard. Not a big deal there. It may kick up some waves and stuff, but generally looking quiet for most of this week until we see that little pattern change. Again, you got the little piece of energy here racing off here, coming out of the Rockies, going into Thursday, as we got another piece of energy here, some rain showers there across the Dakotas and coming into Minnesota. But again, it's the next week system that's really, you got a very fast progressive pattern. Again, that's what's setting up the rains there going into Friday across areas of Illinois and Indiana. And that kind of races off toward the east. And then we get that piece of energy kind of really diving down as we go toward next week. Comes out of the Rockies and boom, here comes that Rockies. See that low starting to form there. So we watch this pretty close. Probably some higher altitude snows, obviously, there. But that little low pressure system that'll be kicking off there as we go into Tuesday. That's what we'll be setting up that weather. Boom, there it goes as we go late in the day on Tuesday. So this is what I'll be watching here for the potential for some active weather. So we're talking about Wisconsin, searching back down into Arkansas. Got a pretty potent low pressure system there, 978 millibars. That's not bad there. As we're going to see the cold air kind of rushing behind the system. You got the warm air out ahead of the system. So again, boom, we get the clash of the air masses there. Pretty potent cold front that'll be kind of diving down there. And that'll begin to push off toward the east. Again, looking into Wednesday with that chance of thunderstorms even coming down into Arkansas, Missouri, and through Illinois. So Tuesday, Wednesday, those are the days I'll be watching very closely for that active severe weather potential there for next week. And this will push off toward the east. Looks like it begins to die down as that low pressure races off toward the north there. So pretty chilly air, though. I mean, you're definitely seeing some colder temperatures here across the high plains, as you should for this time of year. See that blue? That's that 540 line, sometimes referred to the freezing line, about 5,000 feet. Definitely starting to lower as that cooler and colder temperatures start to infiltrate parts of the United States going in toward the end of next week. That's going into Thursday and Friday, going from basically Halloween into the first of the year. Let's take a look at those temperature anomalies. We'll look at that real quick. As you can see, again, the bulk of the country, a lot of red on this map. That's anomaly means the temperatures are running above average here for the most part for a lot of the country for this week. As you're seeing that trend kind of holding on there. A little bit of pocket of some cool air here across the Pacific Northwest. Obviously, you see a little area there in the west. And get my little climate there. There it goes there. Little pocket here, obviously, with a little plus or a little rain near across areas of the Great Lakes, searching down toward parts of Kentucky, that going on your Thursday morning there. So as we go ahead and continue to move this forward here, as we'll continue to see the trend is with staying with above normal temperatures here for most of the weekend, looking pretty quiet here across most of the country. Notice it's Saturday, getting a little bit of cool down here behind that little weak system here across portions of the Northeast. However brief, not going to last very long, obviously. But it'll be a little bit cooler there going into throughout the day on your Saturday. But we get a real nice big warm up here out of that big storm, out of that storm system. Look at this big clash here going on here. Look, you see the cold air out here in the west. Look at this big warm up here out ahead of this into the plains. So as that cold front progresses on out, again, going Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, that will be the concern there for the potential for some active severe weather. We got some pretty good jet energy. We got warm temperatures out ahead of that cold air kind of plowing into it as that front moves on in. So going into Tuesday and going into Wednesday, we'll see that cold front even behind that front. What's interesting on this anomaly map is that you got a pretty potent cold front right through here, but still showing a kind of above normal. So a little bit there, although a lot of the west, wow, you're talking about a big pocket of below normal temperatures there in the west. That'll definitely continue as we go toward Halloween. So definitely cooler out in the west. And then it looks like the temperatures kind of back off a little bit, still a little bit warmer in the east. Looking at below normal temperatures out in the west, it appears to be the trend as we wrap up the month of October. Boy, October went by like at warp 7. Unbelievable how quickly and how fast that has gone by. So, all right, we looked at all the model data and stuff. Let's see how it lines up with the Climate Prediction Center. We'll take a look at those readings here, and we'll see how that is working out for us here as far as our outlook. So looking at your day 6 to 10 outlook here. This is going from the 27th to the 31st. Again, very warm here in the east. Here comes that cooler push out here in the west. Notice Alaska also looking at below normal temperatures there and pretty warm out in Hawaii as well. Going into October 29th, going into November 4th, going into the first week of November. Very warm in the east, but getting progressively cooler here out in the west. Kind of lines up what we were seeing there on the European model as well on your day 8 to 14 outlook. Now, as far as the precipitation, at least we're starting to beat this back. The whole month of October has been very, very warm, but still holding on dry conditions here across the east here as we wrap up the month of October. Seeing the rainfall starting to get in here a little bit more as, again, the jet stream becomes a little more progressive here. That's, again, the 6th through the 10 day and then 8th through the 14. We really start pushing that dry condition out of the country. We see a better chance of precipitation chances as we go into the first week of November. Much needed rain, as we showed you with the drought index. So hopefully we can start seeing some of those drought conditions get beat back across portions of the nation here as we wrap up the month of October and head into the month of November. Hard to believe we're already going into November. But it looks like we'll see how things progress as we get into the month. Obviously, we're going to be looking at that severe weather risk. We'll be watching next week very closely. And we'll continue to watch the tropics. Still got 39 more days of tropical hurricane season. But as the water temperatures continue to cool down, the threat to the continental United States begins to reduce. And that's some good news there. Again, if you're new to the channel, I want to thank you for subscribing. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, again, please consider. It'll be an honor and pleasure to be one of your weather sources here in the YouTube universe. Please, all you got to do is hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you alert on future content. And if you like what you see, you got a comment, or you got something you'd like to see as part of this broadcast, please just leave a comment down below. I do appreciate you guys' feedback. All right, that's your update for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.